Welcome to the Grandstand Golf Podcast. I am Kevin Bapty, and I'm joined as always by my brothers Adam.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
And Craig.
Hey everyone, how you doing?
Adam, why don't you tell us what we just saw at this year's Masters tournament?
Yeah, so DJ won. I don't know if you guys saw that. Dustin Johnson won. Dominant, throughout the entire tournament. Sunday, we had a couple charges. That early one from Rory. We had Sungae. We had Cam Smith. But, DJ didn't really give an inch. It was a record-breaking, historic Masters. 20 under, breaking the record there, and record for fewest bogeys in a tournament with 4.
That's
across
crazy.
the entire tournament. Greg, we've talked about Dustin Johnson a lot and a number of wins and all that. Does this change
It's hard not to talk about Dustin Johnson a lot because he's been like either winning or runner up in like the last 6 tournaments he's
every
played
tournament
in,
he
basically.
plays. Yeah.
So does this win change his legacy, Craig?
I think obviously it does. Anytime you win a major, especially I think I was looking it up. There's 141 people who have won 1 major. There's 84 who have won 2 or more. So like you move yourself from like this huge chunk to this smaller chunk, and then he's 36 years old. So you get further and further up that list. There's being a 2-time major winner in and of itself. Who knows what he does in the future? That right there is a totally different legacy to me than being a 1-time major winner.
Plus, he gets to play in this one for another 30 years if he wants to.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think that 2 majors is a lot different than 1. You can kind of back into 1 by accident almost. 2, it shows a consistent level of play in these big tournaments that it's a more elite group, like you say. And he certainly deserved it after all the hardship he's had in majors with 54-hole leads. It's been well documented. He went out and totally demolished the field.
Yeah.
So
well, and I think in terms of legacy too, his legacy to this point has been a little bit an inability to like being so good, all of the things that he's done, and an inability to win majors. So it's sort of like Phil first half of his career, where it was like for a while he was the best player not to win a major, and then it's like, okay, well, and then he started to stack them up, and then no one thinks about Phil that way anymore.
I know we've mentioned it on the pod before, but how old was Phil when he got his first major?
So it was 04, so he would have been 34.
Right, so what is he at now? 5?
So I actually have we're skipping a question here, but I have one of my questions here is how many majors do we think DJ's going to win? So he's 36 now. This is his second. I got some numbers here on where people were at, how many they had when they were 36. So Phil had 3. He ended up with 5. So he actually had a very good...
Well, the current total is 5.
The current total is 5. He's still out there working on it. So Faldo had 5 at 36, ended up with 6. Ernie had 3, ended up with 4. DJ Singh, who we know typically as someone who had a good later career, he had 2, ended up with 3. And then just a few of the big names. Nicholas, 14, ended up with 18. Palmer and Watson both. So Palmer had 7, ended up with 7, and Watson had 8, ended up with 8. So none of them won any more after 36. Tiger, I think we all know the numbers on that one.
So I think Kevin, you think DJ's going to win the next 4?
Well, that's right. I called the next 5 going into this tournament, so he knocked off the first one. Check. No, the way he's playing, there's no doubt that he's going to contend in the next ones. He never finishes outside the top 10. His floor is like a T6, it seems like.
It's just so funny, with how he won it. I just can't get the word dominant out of my mind. How he won this one it almost I go back to how has he not won more up to this point?
I know.
I think
when he plays like this, you just can't understand how he doesn't win everything.
He's so dominant.
But I think in part that is he wasn't this complete of a player until the last few years. He didn't have the wedge game and the short game and all the his ball striking has always been world class, but he's filled in all of the pieces. And I think the last hurdle has been the mental game and the confidence and the composure, the wherewithal,
No, I
liked how
completely
he
agree
talked.
with you. Yeah.
I liked how he talked leading into it as well. Yesterday, I believe it was at his press conference, talking about how he knows how he reacts in these situations. He's been in them enough times, both in regular tournaments and in majors with 54-hole leads. He says he knows how he reacts and he knows how to deal with that now. And that's a huge part of it. Like the first time you're in that situation, you might succeed and you might not. And if those might nots kind of pile up on each other, it can become a major hurdle to overcome.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel like he was carrying that burden. He had a game plan and he went out and he executed it.
Well, he also doesn't look like when you heard him speak in Butler Cabin, he was talking about how he was nervous the whole time. Like, Adam, did you think he looked nervous when he was going through his round?
No, man, this is like classic DJ. Like, he's kind of hazy-eyed. Like, he just kind of saunters around, see ball, hit ball, take a little bit more time on the greens. I mean, I didn't think he looked nervous. I mean, at the end, I think you could see a little bit of emotions, but he had such a wide gap that you're like, okay, just finish it. Just go par, whatever you need to do.
Yeah, I think the only point where it felt nervous to me was after bogey on 4 and 5. And I think it was Sungae at that point that was within one. That's the only point where it seemed, and it wasn't anything he did. Maybe it was just everything about the moment. That's the only point where it was like, man, like this is a game. All of a sudden, it was just going to be a coronation, but now we got a match.
And I think both those bogeys too, though, it wasn't like he made big mistakes. He still had, solid. He mentioned this, but solid looks at par, and he said he hit good putts.
Yeah.
He hit them where he wanted. He just missed them.
He just found the bunker off the tee and like things like that. Like, I mean, it happens, right?
The one mistake I think he made was probably his third shot on 2, which he ended up getting away with a par there, but he didn't. Typically guys are looking to at least birdie that hole.
It's almost a bogey.
It's almost a bogey. So, he had a few hiccups in the first 5 holes there that kind of made you start thinking this, who knows what's going to happen. But like number 6 was a total turning point, birdie, bogey, with him and Sungae there, and the rest is history, really. He never
I went completely off track. Are we looking for a number? You want us to say a number?
I was going to say, so back to the question.
Plant or flag? Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, a little context. Obviously, those names I was giving you, there's few that have won more than one. Like, Nicholas has a lot after this age. Mm-hmm. Phil has a couple, but basically everyone else won either 1 or 0 after this age. That said, I think DJ is probably playing at a higher level or close to a higher level than anyone for a 36-year-old.
I also think just the trend of golf, we're going to see 40-year-olds compete for a lot longer, just with fitness, health, all that. Like you see Tom Brady now. Like, there's no way back in the day that quarterbacks in their early 40s were competing like they are. Like, I think we're going to see that.
They're not cooling down with a cigarette and a glass of whiskey.
No, exactly. So so if he's 36, you said right now?
I'll be first. Let me go first.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, sure.
I'm going to say 5 total.
5 total?
Oh, man.
I didn't want anybody to steal that one. So I'm saying 3 more. Probably the next 3. But 5 total.
I was going to say, you already have him down for...
I'm going to go out. Okay. You guys stake your claims on. Yeah, I'll say 5.
Okay, Craig, you go next because that kind of ruined mine. I got to figure out if I'm going to go high or low from that.
I'll go 4. I think he's gonna. So most of these guys, I mean, you can say the same number, call it over under 4.5 or 3.5 or something. I don't know, whatever you want. But I think he has more majors in him. I think winning majors are very hard. I think winning at Augusta and being able to come here, I think he's going to be competitive here for at least the next 5 years, assuming he doesn't have any bad injuries. I think he's always going to be competitive at the U.S. Open. I don't know. I'd have to look at his Open Championship background.
It's actually okay. He's got 3 top 10s.
Well, I mean, he does have the career runner-up slam going into this, so obviously he has been good there.
And you know what? I was thinking about that. Let's just talk about it now too. Well, Craig, I guess you gave your 4, Adam, or you? I'll say 5 plus. I don't know if that makes it better. If you wanna,
you know what? I'll go 5, but I'll add this. He's gonna get 2 Masters. He'll get another one at Augusta.
Another one. Okay.
So then the obvious next question,
Grand Slam. Is the Grand Slam in play?
No, he can't win the Open.
You don't think and why not?
His ball flight's too high.
What a hot
those
take.
UK wins.
I think he can. I don't think he will.
I think he can. I think he's good enough that he can win the Open, and I think his short game is good enough that he can. He does have a high ball flight, but Phil had a high ball flight too, and he managed to win the Open. So
I just think it's incredibly hard. Like it's not.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't think he can. It's just that I think that it's hard to win.
Man,
it's hard to win all of these different ones.
He can
can
definitely win a
anywhere.
PGA Championship. They're,
Oh, yeah.
I believe for the next few years, they're at big ballparks where it's bomb and gouge city. So he's got the game for that.
And I think he can. I think Augusta's always going to be a good course.
Yeah. So, what are you reconsidering 4? Do you want to go higher? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm happy with 4. That said, I'm a huge DJ fan. I think he's gotten so much flack for so long for so many reasons.
I agree.
I would
Yeah.
love it if he ends up with 6 or 7. I'd have absolutely no problem with that. Shut up some of these old timers who I don't know. I think it's harder to win majors now, so I think DJ in this era, if he won something like 5, 6, 7, I think to me that's great. That is greatness,
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah, I agree.
Last question on DJ here. It's got to be asked. Is the Masters scoring record 20 under? Is it legit?
Why would it not be legit? Just to clarify.
So the course played very soft. I think that there was scoring, hitting into greens was different. I think that if you look at places where balls would stay instead of rolling down into catchment areas, all of these things made the course play easier this week than it had. I mean, we had Cam Smith and Sungae both at 15 under.
It was shocking how many balls stayed on banks this week.
Yeah. Yes.
Shocking.
Yeah.
Don't tell that to Tiger. But like they're a staggering number. I think I was watching some highlights preparing for this, and I saw a number on the bank of 13. I've never seen balls stop on the bank on 13, like in front of the green there. They always go back. That's a steep bank.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but all that said, I do think it's legit. You still have to go out and do it. I can't think of any times DJ was really on any banks or any, saved in that manner anywhere.
Right.
Yeah, he probably had a little bit easier time holding greens and, maybe attacking some pins, but he still had to do it, and he did it.
Oh, yeah.
And he had to make the putts. So, I think it's legit. I mean,
I think it's 100% legit.
It's in the record books, no asterisks. So,
I mean, I also just think with the group of players we have, it might not stand for a decade. Like it could be caught. And if it's caught in April, it might be a little bit more impressive, but I think it's 100% legit.
I agree. I think it is legit. I think when you saw DJ even asked about it in Butler Cabin, the fact that he commented, like it was playing a bit differently this week. Like I think that will always be associated with this 20 under record. That like, oh yeah, like without a doubt, great. He was what 5? It ended up 15 was second, right? Ended up 5 clear of everyone else in the field. But I think there always will be like that. Little, but it was a weird Masters this year.
I think in Butler Cabin too, he didn't want to just rub it right in Tiger's face.
Yeah, be like, remember when this guy used to be good? Now it's me.
Was that staggering to anybody else? It kind of reminded me how big DJ is. That he made like Tiger's like 6'1" or something, and he made him look pretty short.
Yeah.
So anything more on Dustin before we move on?
I'm sure there's things that I'm going to kind of come to my mind here as we talk about it.
Up through the episode, I'm sure.
All right. Well, let's talk about some of the.
Oh no, sorry. One thing, real quick, and I could save this for our picks later. I was looking at DJ's recent record, and then I was thinking how happy I am to have him still as a one and done pick. And then I was thinking it must really suck that you picked him on the week that he did the worst of like his past 3 months.
6th?
Yeah, I know. Well,
6th? What a bum.
It's too bad, but I mean, how can you guys even question the pick the way he's playing? I mean, it was obvious. I'm shocked he didn't win.
Craig, now that you bring that up, I feel like it's gonna be in my head when to pick him. Like it's gonna be the last tournament of next year. It's gonna be because I'm gonna be so scared.
I didn't second guess that. I just pulled the trigger, and you know what? I'll live with the consequences, which right now is a lead.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
So let's talk about some of the main contenders. I guess the guys that finished tied second. First off, Cameron Smith and Sungae Im. Adam, do you want to start? I know, or who
let's
picked?
throw it over to Craig, because
Cam Smith was your sleeper, right?
Yeah, I was thinking for a while there, it almost looked like, Adam picked Ortiz last week. Cam Smith coming down the stretch. There was moments where I thought he missed a couple putts that could have put that little bit more pressure. I mean, ultimately DJ ended up running away with it, going even lower, but he could have put a bit more pressure on him. But just generally, I was so impressed by him as a player. I think his ball striking is never going to be, he's never going to be a Dustin Johnson, Rory McIlroy type, but to me, the thing that I was thinking as he was playing, he reminds me of like a young Ian Poulter, where he's just kind of like, he's just gonna will his way into like making low scores. Like when he made a birdie out of the trees, and then on, I want to say 7, and then he came back on
7
9.
and 9.
He came back on 9 and knocked
birdies.
it to like a foot and a half, 2 feet. And then combine that with all of the times, both today and throughout the week, that he was scrambling and making big putts to save pars and all that kind of thing. It just kind of reminded me of that Poulter type, where you're like, there's nothing about his game that's just like, oh yeah, he's the best driver of the golf ball or anything like that. It's more
he putted unreal this week. He was number 1 in putting, was he not?
Yeah, but like that's the type of thing that like gamers do. It's less like, it's just someone who's a competitor, and he just seems to have that. And we saw it, he's established the reputation as a President's Cup guy, and the match play mentality, and it reminds me a bit of a Poulter back when Poulter was young and on his way up.
He's certainly establishing himself as an Augusta guy too. Mm-hmm. With his last couple of results, so
a 5th and a 2nd.
I don't know if that's going to be able to be a sleeper pick anymore, the way his record's stacking up there. But who knows? Maybe you can pick him as a sleeper when he's 46.
With a Sunday that was, I mean, the front 9 was probably more exciting when the scores got a little bit closer, but it was a lot of fairways and greens, and then just like opportunities from there. Cam Smith provided, I mean, like that entertainment, that thrill, like his shot going over the trees or from the pine straw on 9 where it just got over the bunker. Like those are really cool, kind of a Sunday at Augusta type shots.
So just real quick, that shot from the pine straw on 9, and I think it was Nance that said like, oh yeah, it was a foot from getting into that bunker. That thing was like a half inch from like when it was on the edge, and it was like rolling, and you're like, oh, it rolled onto the green. It was like a half inch from going the other way and rolling into the bunker. There's
definitely been some magic from those trees over the years, so it was cool to see somebody pull that off, especially since he was kind of still, if DJ faltered, he might have had a chance to make a run on the back there. So it was really clutch at the time, both 7 and 9.
Huge. It was huge.
Yeah. So Sungae, I mean, my impression of Sungae was that his short game was unbelievable. He hit some chips that were just like in my notes here, I have on 5, 6, he ended up missing the par putt on 6. 15, that shot he hit from almost in the water on 16, and he got up and down for birdie.
I can't believe he got up and down from there.
That was amazing, that shot. And 5 and 6 too. 5, he was in the same spot Cam Smith was, and just hit an unreal chip. 6, he hit a great chip. He just missed the
2,
putt.
he hit a great chip from the back.
That's right. Yeah, it was unreal. His composure in that spot was amazing. Like I kind of thought of Sungae as a guy who he can kind of run with the best of them at the early in the tournament and get out in front, but I didn't know he had the chops on him to battle the way he did.
And he sort of comes off as more like, he's going to get his 35 starts a year and get a lot of 5th to 20th, so at the end of the year he's up there in the FedEx Cup rankings and everything. But I just did not think he had the I don't even know what it is, but I didn't think he was going to come into Augusta the first time playing here and 22 years old. He set the record for first time score at Augusta with 15 under. I didn't think that he would. I mean, his own goal going into the tournament was to make the cut.
Yeah.
So to be in contention at the end of it, it was just awesome.
So I guess that is something to bring up in terms of the scoring record being legit and everything. To have two guys at 15 under, I heard a stat, would have won all but 7 Masters tournaments. So it is a historically low scoring year. But both those guys played very, very, very well to get there too. But again, that does speak to the scrambling, a little bit softer, slower conditions, maybe a little easier to scramble. So,
I mean, when I'm doing my research for the 2021 Masters in April, I'm going to have an asterisk on this one because I do think the course did play differently. But in terms of the scoring record,
what you have to say about Sungae though, Adam. You're the one that got me excited about this guy in the first place. He's basically one of your boys.
Man, he absolutely is one of my boys. I was just doing some research there to make sure that I was correct in it. But one big reason to cheer for Sungae is I'm pretty sure in South Korea there's mandatory military service before the age of 28. And if he wins a medal at the Tokyo Olympics, he would be exempt from that.
Otherwise, he has to serve it. Yeah.
He has to serve it for 18 to 21 months. He's 22 now, so he has, about 4 years.
He has 2 Olympics. 2 Olympics to try.
And apparently he said he's not sure if a green jacket would exempt him, but it's never been done before, so they're not sure. But I mean, that's something, it's a cool thing to watch out for. Like that'd be pretty cool.
He has until he's 28, because he has to serve the 2 years before he's 30. And there's been precedents of other golfers. I forget the name at the moment, but there's somebody who I believe was in the top 50 in the world. He went, and when he came back, he said his swing felt great, but he had forgotten how to play golf, and he's now
how to play in a competitive tournament, and
how to
that just gives me goosebumps
game,
of,
kind of
worried about Sungae.
Yeah. That's another reason he plays so many tournaments, I think.
I'd also be curious to know. I know in different countries that have mandatory military service, there can be all kinds of for high level athletes, say. There can be ways of doing it in almost like a public relations capacity. And I'd be curious to know in South Korea whether there is like being an ambassador. And so you can kind of do your sport, but then also you're doing things publicly. But you'd have to look at other sports, I think. Like, I don't think we have the history in golf to know whether that is a possibility.
And golf is huge in Korea. Like, it's massive. So
I'm sure if CJ, what are they? CJ Corporation has anything to say about it, they'll try to keep him out there playing because
no kidding. Or post him up at 9 Bridges wherever the CJ Cup was played.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on to some other big names and get your thoughts on them. First, let's start with Justin Thomas. Craig, why don't you tell us what you think about Justin's week?
So, I mean, to me, I don't know what he ended up 4th, 5th, somewhere around there.
4th.
It was just a very disappointing. Like, it's one of those ones you're going to look at, I think, down the road when you're looking at his Wikipedia page and be like, oh yeah, like 4th, he was right in that one. He was never, like, after Friday, at the end of Friday, he was right there. But he was never in this on the weekend, or at least on Sunday. I was really disappointed with JT, and I think, was it Kev you that picked him as a potential guy to win?
Yeah, he was my
and the one thing we brought up as a major weakness for him is that he can get loose off the tee, and that's what we saw being a little bit his Achilles heel. Was there was just swings he had where he would have to, he would spray it and he would have to punch out. I mean, his double on 1 was him punching out, and he didn't have a good punch out. But 13, he pulled one left there into the trees. He just, it's sort of like JT. We're not looking for him to have good major finishes. We're not looking at him to win PGA Tour events. Like, he's at the point where he needs to start stacking up Masters. I think he's 27 now. Maybe he's turned 28, but he's in the prime. He needs to start stacking them up if he wants to really have a 4, 5, 6. If he wants to have a lot when it's all said and done, he needs to start winning these. And right now, his inconsistency, I would say, off the tee, or like inability to just maybe like one or two less of those a tournament is really hurting him.
Yeah, I think he made at least one double, maybe two doubles in the first 2 days, the first 2 rounds, and was still tied for the lead. And then Dustin continued at that level of play, and JT just couldn't match it. I want to say he had 4 bogeys on his last 6 holes on Saturday, and that just killed him. I mean, he had a chance maybe not to be tied for the lead with Justin Thomas or with Dustin Johnson going into Sunday, but he had a chance to be within striking distance, and it just killed it. That was his tournament right there, the back 9 on Saturday. He had, I want to say he was 2 over the final 6 holes, and at Augusta you got to score on those holes if you want to win the tournament. It was just disappointing for me. I had picked him to win. He was my biggest stake going into the week as well. I had staked Dustin as well, but I would have had a bigger win if Justin would have won. So I was definitely rooting for those two to kind of go out in front and duke it out. And Justin has the game to do that, and it was just disappointing that he couldn't find it when he needed to and make the big shots in the big moments. That's what we're waiting for.
I kind of feel like I have to interject and disagree with you. Like, I mean, we're talking about a 4th at the Masters. I know you guys are saying it's disappointing, but I mean, he's 3rd in the world. You would have to, like, any of these guys, JT, Rory, Rahm, they would have to play near perfect to get to 20 under, 21 under to catch DJ. Like, there wasn't a lot that went wrong with JT. I mean, he is only 27. Like, he got 4th at the Masters. It's not bad. Like, he limited some mistakes. He made some, but he's going to hang around. This is a positive moving into the next Masters.
For sure. And it's positive as far as he's trending up. That was part of the process of him being my pick, was that he's continued to improve, and this is a continued improvement. But again, I don't think that's what he's looking for at this time. He's looking to put it together.
Yeah, of course it'll be disappointing. All these guys are huge, like, they're competitors, of course, but I don't know. I don't think we can, any of those guys within the top 10 of the leaderboard, really say, like, quote unquote disappointed. I don't know. That's just
I think it's more so to me because if after 36 holes you're tied for the lead, if you're Justin Thomas or John Rahm, who we'll get to in a sec, like, in a major for them, those are the opportunities that they, and I get that, like, when you have 1, 2, and 3 in the world all tied at the lead, only one of them can win. But
yeah.
It's that the disappointing thing to me was more that, like, DJ was the only one that then, like, continued that pace and or took it to the next level, whereas it felt like Rahm and JT. I mean, JT got some scoring, especially in the later half. The second 9. It's not the back 9, guys. The second 9 right. Today. But it was more that, like, I expected all 3 of them to be pushing each other throughout the weekend, and we just didn't see that.
Yeah. So why don't we move on to Rory? Rory. So you say. He was the one guy, he did close essentially on Dustin. I mean, given that he was 10 shots back of him going into the second round, he closed. But I mean, he sure dug himself a hole before he did that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just throw I just want a 1-word answer from you guys. Will Rory complete the Grand Slam at some point in his career?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I was just curious. Yeah, I mean, again, I think there's good things to take away. He shouldn't have spotted the field 3 strokes. I was worried that my pick was not going to make the cut.
But he spotted the field more than that, because, like, he should have been 2, 3 under.
Yeah, the scoring average was low on Thursday. It was also just a weird Masters because we didn't have round ends at the end of the day, so there was no, like, sitting on a 54 hole or halfway point lead. I mean, it was a 1-hour break Saturday morning, right?
That added an interesting dynamic though to it as well, because I think that gave some people an advantage to see where everybody was at and what holes they had left and potentially, take advantage of it. I think Rahm is a guy that we haven't brought up yet,
So I don't want to move on to him yet, because I just want to I want to get into Rory here. So I think Rory, is very aware of his legacy, and I think he's very aware.
That's because everyone reminds him at every turn
totally.
on that property.
Even, I mean, we were talking about it in a showdown video, but like on Saturday, Amanda Balionis is asking Rory about his round and like, oh yeah, like, you know, another chance to go out there and get the career Grand Slam tomorrow, and he's like at that point DJ wasn't done yet, but you could see him like he kind of like
It wasn't even. It was at the end of the interview. He's like, "Yeah, like sure." She's like, "Good luck with your baby. Have fun with your baby, and good luck chasing that Grand Slam."
Yeah, but you could see he was like, "Well, no, like DJ's like six strokes in front of me. Like he's gonna be more than that still. I'm not really counting on it this year, but so I think with him being so aware and there being so much pressure, not just from outside, like he hears about it constantly, but it's something that he puts the pressure on himself as well. I think so. He has an awesome game for Augusta, and we see it when he's not in contention. So like him shooting the 75 on Thursday / early Friday morning, it almost let him like just chill out and play golf after that. And then we saw when he's just playing golf and not thinking about how this is going to affect his legacy and all that, he's really good here. It's just he has to. And we've seen it through the first 3 days, but then it's Sunday and he's like, you know, the legacy is on the line, and it's going to take a lot of mental strength for him to close the deal. I think that's it. I think he's going to get it done.
See, I think of all these guys, Adam, you're talking about that they can take positives from it. I disagree. I think Rory can though, because he like you were saying, he spotted the field. Yeah. He played fantastic. I think he probably found a little bit of a recipe for April, and that he just needs to go out and let her fly, not get too concerned about any given hole. Augusta's so good for that. It's a roller coaster. You can have a double bogey and you can make up for it. There's enough holes to do it.
So I have no idea what's going to happen in April in terms of the world that we live in.
I do. Rory is going to win, actually.
No. Okay, let me say that. Like DJ is like the perfect person to win without a crowd. Like he just like he didn't even wait. Like he didn't mark his ball. He just went out, tapped it in. Just like, I won. Like come on, with Rory, that crowd needs to be behind him. Like
it would be a little bit disappointing for Rory to do it without the crowd there.
He needs those patrons. Like I'm just getting goosebumps thinking about it. At first I was thinking this might be a good time for him to happen, but I mean, just knowing who he is, like with his Ryder Cup kind of I don't know. He needs that crowd. He needs that energy.
Well, and Rory, like he's such a nice guy and he's such a fan favorite that everyone wants him to do it. Everyone wants him to close the deal and do it. So it's almost like Garcia a few years ago.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah.
Where Justin Rose makes a bogey and the crowd loves it because it's good for Garcia. Like people will be the whole the undercurrent from the crowd will be very pro Rory.
Yeah. Yeah. It's gonna happen. It's gonna be amazing. It might be 5 years from now. I don't know.
Okay, well, let's move on from Rory. We all love him. Jon Rahm. What's your thoughts on Adam? Or what's your thoughts on Jon Rahm, Adam?
Great player, top 7. I mean, I actually, Rahm is one of those guys. I mean, I feel like JT's going to get there at Augusta. I feel like Rory's going to get there at Augusta. I don't know if Rahm is. I don't know if it's exactly.
I have more faith in Rahm at Augusta than I do JT.
Really?
Maybe that's a hot take, but
I don't know. I just feel like JT with his approach play 1 year, he is just going to come together for 4 days.
I hear you. I think Rahm's a better driver of the ball, and I think it gives him enough of an advantage on the par 5s that.
Except when he's coming up 8 every year and he's going to shank one. I mean, that's 2 years.
He does have
can
a
shank
history
and still
of
get
that now.
contention. We've seen that.
I've seen that shot shape so many times in my life. From a personal perspective.
Actually, I think my
left
favorite
and
shot
straight
tracker
right.
moment this week was Cameron Smith on 15. Did you see that one? When he pulled that one
pulled
like
it left?
40 yards left, it started taking off and then it just curls around those trees.
Yeah.
I was like, ooh, that's not the
kind of
best.
hope like the shot tracker picked up a leaf or something. You're like, is that right?
So Rahm,
but no, sorry, on Rahm, I think his driver gives him a better chance than JT. I think that he really had a very poor weekend. I think he'd be the first to tell you that.
And I think that started Saturday morning, which was his end of his second round. He had a birdie putt there on 13 to get to 9 under, which was tied for the lead at the time. And Justin and Dustin and a few others were already there in the clubhouse. And he had scoreable holes. 14 was scoreable, 15 was scoreable, 16 was scoreable that day. That it was down on the lower portion where they can get it really tight. And he ended up only getting in at 9 under, and I think that was a huge missed opportunity.
That's a great point. Yeah.
He went on to start his third round. I think he made one birdie in his first 7 holes, and then on the 8th is where he had a little bit of a meltdown there. And that was it. But he really had the chance to get himself out in front with a bit of a cushion for something like that, and he didn't take advantage. And he could have set the tone. And this is what I was talking about earlier, is that with the way it wasn't necessarily the end of the round at the end of the day. He had a chance to set the tone
for that day.
And with the other guys. So they had to see him going out and playing well early and getting a lead, and they knew they would have to chase. Whereas seeing him not do that, they're like, okay, well, this is where we were.
And I think that especially could have affected DJ because, I mean, he was at 10 under through the first 3 or 4 holes of his second round, and then really had moved back the rest of the day.
Okay,
so he would have been I think the one who felt like the most, man, like I had this in my grasp and now I have to be chasing.
Sorry, I was gonna say I have Rahm takes, but I was gonna save them for later in the show. But I feel like I just gotta get them off my chest now.
Out.
So I feel like it was Faldo during the broadcast that kept saying young Cameron Smith, young Cameron Smith from Australia. He's a year older than Rahm. Like, I think we need to remember Rahm is 26. So he has 5 top 10s in majors. He has 12 professional wins. At the same age, DJ had 4 top 10s in majors and 4 top 10s and 4 wins. So he has 12 wins to his 4 at the same age. Like, he's only 26.
Yeah.
Sungae's 22. I mean,
but DJ's major record has been a disappointment through his
12 wins to 4 wins at the same point. PGA Tour wins. Or sorry, not PGA,
professional.
Worldwide professional.
Yeah, it's a little different than PGA Tour. How many PGA Tour wins?
I'll pull it up.
So I hear you, Adam, and it's not that I think that it's more I think Rahm. Sorry, 5 PGA Tour wins.
Yeah.
It's not that like I just think these guys. So to me, I think about 25 to 35 is prime for like the best golfers who, some golfers don't develop until about 25, until, that's when they're really starting to hit their stride as pros. But for these guys who, like, Rahm was the rookie of the year, 5 years ago now, probably, 4 or 5 years ago at least. For those type of guys, career legacy wise, they want to start to stack up those majors when they're in their late 20s.
You want to get it off, so the monkey off your back early, and so you can just kind of, keep it rolling. You don't need to, that pressure builds if you haven't done it.
You don't want to ever get the tag, the best player without a major, because that's one of those ones that you're like, the only reason they're saying that is because you haven't won a major. It's not because they think you're really good.
15 years later, you're Lee Westwood and you don't think it's ever going to happen.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, for a while it was Phil, and then I feel like Lee Westwood is the next one I remember them talking about.
Sergio.
Ricky was talked about.
Ricky's not playing well enough to have that tag anymore.
But he was talked about that, and then he faded off of there.
Yeah, I mean,
Rahm will get his.
Rahm will get his. I don't doubt that Rahm's going to get a major. It's just, I just feel like this week he let one slip away a little bit, an opportunity to contend for one, anyways, because in the end he wasn't in contention.
I forgot how good his Masters record is. He's gone 4-9-7. I mean,
it's solid.
Maybe he is a good pick for April.
I mean, his short game is
I took him
awesome.
to the US Open.
It's awesome. You've already used Rahm?
I'm very disappointed in our US Open pick of Rahm.
Ooh.
That's the whole reason Kevin has a lead in this thing, was because and Rahm was ahead of DJ for like 95% of that tournament, and then on Sunday at the US Open, Rahm fell off and DJ charged.
All right, what other notables here?
Okay, Brooks Koepka. He was Craig's fade.
Well, he was my low-key
week.
fade because I faded him on Friday,
fade.
and then by Sunday I was backpedaling hard on that fade.
Yeah.
But
Friday of the Houston Open, he switched out his driver, went super low at Houston.
Yeah.
And then it's...
To me, the takeaway for Brooks Koepka is that he's back in form. Like, to me, he's got the swing speed back. He's got the consistency with his driver and his ball striking generally. He's gonna, every major tournament, I think he's gonna be a contender until we see otherwise.
I think so too. I agree with that.
Completely agree.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on. Bryson DeChambeau, my fade, who I was just very happy that it all unfolded the way it did. I was so nauseous with all the pre-tournament talk about, people were pretty much handing it to Bryson before.
I know, it drove me crazy.
So me and Adam was going off to me a few times on this, that like basically people cannot think beyond what was the most recent thing that happened. And
so what did Bryson end up at? -2?
Whatever it was is behind Bernhard Langer.
Well, think about what that would have been with a par 67, because he was only playing a par 67. You know,
he's quite a few over.
what an obnoxious, like, if you're gonna talk like that, you better back it up. And he didn't even come close. You know, like I will stand by my statement. I think he has a huge problem with when he doesn't have his greens book, and he's never gonna get one at Augusta. And his putting history at Augusta proves that he can't. I don't know if he can't read greens or what, but it's
more than just that. But I do agree with that. Like, the greens book does hurt, but around the greens, and Craig mentioned in our podcast the artistry of Augusta.
Yeah.
And I think so. There's two things to me. I think he, in part, the way he has developed his game over the past year, 18 months. I think it makes it harder for you to have the soft touch and therefore the distance control that goes along with it, with your approach play. And I think we saw that more. I think when you're coming out of rough at the US Open, his approach play there was awesome, but it's a totally different kind of shot needed to be able to bring it out of the rough with a higher lofted club than anyone else can, because you've gotten it out there further, versus, you know, like if someone's in the fairway at Augusta and they're 30 yards behind you, but they can control the spin and you know, stop it within a couple yards, then it doesn't matter if you're further up, if you're still going to have a larger margin. You're not getting the edge off the tee that you were at the US Open. And then at the US Open, every aspect of his game was awesome. So we sort of decided that his driving is awesome, and he's going to continue with this awesome driving, and every other aspect of his game is going to continue at this level. He drove it pretty well this week. It was all of the other things.
And you know what? The other thing is at Augusta, you almost never have a level lie. And I think that's something that Bryson's going to struggle with a little bit in the way that he's so linear with his swing. I think that's going to be something that he's going to have to figure out if he wants to contend at Augusta. I don't care how long he is. If he's shooting in there off of a, you know, a side slope, that's going to affect him for sure.
I forget which day I saw it, but his approach on 13, I want to say it was Friday or Saturday, maybe Saturday morning. And you could, the mic was right over top of him. You could hear him and his caddy talk about the slope. How far back, 10, 30. And he went through his whole process and hit a shot. But, I mean, you need feel. Like, you need feel around that course. You can't just calculate it out. I don't know. I'd much rather, like, see something like, okay, so I got this lie. I know it's going to kind of go to the left here. Maybe that's a good aiming point there. And
see ball, hit ball.
So I'm okay with that approach. When you're
of course you are.
No, when you're practicing, like when you're building your game, I think once you're out on the course, you need to be like, okay, like it's it's kind of between my 10-30, but I'm going to, if I'm going to open my stance a bit because it's like all of these things, that's when, like, okay, you've done I know my precise distance, but then you're translating that into the feel without coming to a precise number decision. There's that's where the artistry, I think, is really what makes Augusta special.
I couldn't believe, though, I'm just going back, I couldn't believe how people were crowning him on Tuesday and Wednesday. He drove the green or over the green on 3 with a 3-wood. Like, who cares?
Yeah, you shouldn't drive it over the green. That's a horrible
so you're
spot to
saying
be.
he was over the green? Yeah.
Oh my God! Like,
did he par?
I couldn't believe that everyone was just. It goes
You
back
probably
to
should have
getting
laid
green.
back and had a nice full wedge in so he could stop the ball on the green.
No kidding. I mean, I kind of went off on our Twitch show on Tuesday to Craig a little bit, but I couldn't believe that everybody was crowning him just because he won the last tournament. I mean, the last U.S. Open, which he did. But
Yeah. So I also think there's the aspect, I don't know all the details of it, but he's talking about being dizzy and I don't even know what it was all about. It sounded almost like it was vertigo type things he was talking about. But it's just, to me, like, even if that is the case, just shut up about it. Like, that,
I agree. Like
Bryson
has
has gone out of his way to put the spotlight on him, and then so to then bring those, like, you were just, when you won last time, you were talking about how you had changed golf and everyone else needs to, like, just don't even if there are excuses that are legit, don't make them,
Bryson's, he's gonna talk regardless. He's gonna talk. Let's face it. That's part of his brand that he's always trying to protect. All right, guys, let's move on.
Yeah, we got all the Bryson.
We got a couple. Let's kind of make these quick hitters here. Greg, I'll start with you. Unless, Adam, you want this one for Telly.
No,
He's
go
right
ahead,
up there.
Greg.
Impressed. I would not have expected to see him up in the top 5, even on going into Sunday. I think I did have him in a showdown or two, but I thought so. There's a crew of 3 guys going into the day at 12. Abe Answer was the one who fell off. I thought of those guys, Fratelli was the one to me that seemed like he potentially would, but really played solid and got in there with. I'm not sure what his final number was, but definitely top 10.
Yeah, he's a longer hitter than I thought he was. He bombs it out there.
Well, they talked about how he had changed to a longer driver.
And he got another 20 yards or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. I was surprised by that for sure. He was pumping it out there. He seemed very solid. I was impressed.
Mm-hmm.
CT Pan, he made a little run there, I think, on Friday.
I did not see that coming. That one blindsided me.
A complete blindside. I mean, he's one of those guys that you look at these alternate events and like, maybe he's a good sleeper there. Like, he's not a favorite there.
I think one of the cool things about him too was that he literally had the longest to wait for this Masters, because he won the tournament after Tiger won in 2019 to qualify for the 2020 that was supposed to be in April, and then now, So
I was wondering how he got in. I was gonna go do some research there, but I'm like,
literally, it was one of those tournaments that most people are taking off, like you're saying, and he won that one. And
so where did he end up finishing?
7th.
Yeah, good for him.
Incredible. I mean, yeah, that's great.
So that gets him back into.
Mm-hmm.
Or gets him into the Masters. So there you go. Corey Connors. Greg,
Speaking
he was your
of
pick
getting
for
into the Masters.
Was
Corey
he your
Connors,
pick for
that was
Canadian?
awesome. He was my pick for Canadian, and he had a 74 opening round, so he really turned it on. Finished tied for 10th, -9. Set the lowest round by a Canadian at Augusta on
65
Friday
there,
with a 65.
He also set it by like 2 or 3 strokes.
Yeah,
I think.
68.
Yeah,
was
68. Yeah.
Like, weird. Come on, man.
Yeah.
But no, love it. One of the things that I hadn't been thinking about, but Graham delayed on the so in Canada
TSN.
here we got the Canadian broadcast before
TSN
and after.
feed, yeah.
So he was talking about how big this is too for them in terms of who gets to be on the Olympic teams. So like the points that accrue from this. So that's a big one. Getting, it comes down to FedEx Cup points and that kind of thing. So it's
I think
big.
it's world ranking. I'm pretty sure it's world
So that
ranking.
would be related to
Yeah.
high finish. I mean, I guess it's not actually FedEx Cup points, but finishing high in these stronger tournaments. But yeah, so a big finish for Corey Connors.
And I don't think he had an invite to the April Masters before his top 12.
I think you're right, Adam. I think you're right.
Because he's outside the top 50. He would need
Yeah.
either a win or the crawl into the top 50. So that's huge.
So we can get our Mackenzie Hughes, Corey Connors top Canadians going there.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just assume these guys are qualified for the major sometimes. Abe Answer.
Disappointing Sunday. I mean, he looked really good. One thing I was going to bring up at the top of the show, never did. Alistair McKenzie, architect here with Bobby Jones, right? He also worked on the, what was it? The Royal Melbourne Golf Club for the 2019 President's Cup. And the two leaders there in points for the international team were Abe Ancer and Sungae Im. So there's a little course correlation.
Cameron Smith was up there too. Eh?
These are the kind of deep dives I need a little earlier in the week.
I know. I couldn't believe it. It just matched up too well.
You know what? He had a bad Sunday today, but I don't really knock him for it. I think he had a couple. He burned a couple edges on some par putts today that really killed his momentum. He fell down there pretty good, but like he kind of proved to me that he's a gamer this week too. Like I liked what I saw. Considering he's, I was watching live from the Masters one night. I want to say it was Friday night, and they were breaking down the swing speeds of all the guys that were tied for the lead. And at the time, it was DJ at like 120 and Justin at 116, and then Abe was at 109 or something. And they're like, that kind of put him in the lower half of the PGA Tour, but he's still getting it done. He's playing his game and getting it done. I respect that.
Yeah. Just real quick, because I bringing up Alistair McKenzie, I've been doing a deep dive on him recently because I want to make some content on him. He is one of the coolest people that you can think of. He was a doctor, like medical doctor.
He's like a wartime.
So yeah, then went off to fight. I want to say it might have been the Boer War, but then World War I as well. And like redefined camouflage based on his like things that he had learned about golf course design and like moving landscapes for the purpose of golf course design. So in World War I, when they're trying to like use embankments and hide artillery and all these things, he was applying his like burgeoning golf course design philosophies to design the trenches on the Western Front.
I'm picturing a perfect in Georgia. I see these banks of this great golf course.
Yeah. Those mounds on number 8 take on a whole new meaning in that light.
No kidding. Yeah, they hide the artillery behind there. Okay, well, let's move on to some people who are still alive here. So a couple of your boys here, Hideki and Patrick Cantlay. Yeah. Craig, why don't you touch on Hideki first?
Well, so I just wanted to bring both of them up because in the vein of JT and Rahm, both of them through 2 rounds, I think were one back at -8.
Yeah, you're right.
They were.
And then really floundered on the weekend and didn't get a whole lot done. I mean, Hideki, the one thing I was talking about as my boy, we're looking for that first major. So an opportunity got away. I think he does set up well in Augusta. I think the course, he's well suited to the course, his strengths as a player. So hopefully he has a better outing come April. But yeah, another one that got away.
Yeah, he was even on the weekend, and Cantlay was +1 on the weekend. So finished T13 and T17 respectively.
There was one moment on Friday, I want to say, where I was watching Cantlay. I think he's in one of the feature groups. He put his ball down for a tee shot. He was setting up with his driver. I went quickly to the bathroom, did my business there, washed my hands, came back, and I just got to see his swing.
Okay, I hope you wash your hands, but
no, I'm just saying, like in the course of like 30 seconds, Cantlay went from teeing up. I did my business, came back, and he was still I was watching the ball kind of bounce down the fairway. Man, he takes forever.
Don't need the PVR for him.
Don't need the PVR.
That's for sure.
Yeah, disappointing.
I actually really thought Cantlay, I really liked where he was at through 2 rounds. Like I thought it seemed like he still had more in him too. So it was disappointing to see him go.
I thought so too, because I think he had played the first 2 rounds with DJ and Rory and totally held his own in that group, and then he played on Saturday with DJ again, I think. DJ and Justin Thomas.
Maybe? It was a couple big names.
Yeah. So
I think he's just one of these guys where when these top 5 guys are kind of at the lead of the tournament and like a Sungae Im's clipping at their heels or Cameron Smith, like they kind of still have that swagger. If Cantlay is clipping at their heels, they're a little bit more worried. Like they know he's a gamer. Like they know he can go low or chase him down or that kind of thing. He's
a little more pedigree to him, I think.
Yeah.
But in that sense, it was a disappointing weekend for him for sure.
Absolutely, 100%.
Shooting +1.
Yeah.
And then finally, we got to mention the elder statesman, Bernard Longer, makes the cut, beats Bryson, which I love that. But I mean, what can you say about the guy that hasn't already been said on the broadcast? It's amazing. It's amazing.
So oldest ever to win, or sorry, to make the cut, at the Masters, or at any major at the Masters.
At the
I would think.
I don't know.
You look at the Open Championship back in the day. There's like some 75-year-olds I think that were making cuts.
Yeah. Anyways, let's move on, Craig, to your good, your bad, and your ugly for this.
Yes, so we're looking at the Masters in November edition here. So basically, this could be the only time we ever see this. So what do we like? What do we not like? What do we wish we never had to see? First off, I loved the look of the course. I thought between the fall colors and low key not having patrons, so you get to see the whole course and see.
I thought that was really cool. Yeah, it was really cool to me.
I just think it's, again, well, I guess maybe April, but we might get to see that again, but the colors we won't see. But I just think it's so cool to see a little bit better how these whole, like, I've looked at it on Google Maps and you've seen it when there are the packed in crowds, but to see how some of these holes butt up against each other, and you kind of get a better understanding when you see sometimes when someone's playing off on another fairway to a hole, you're like, okay, this makes more sense, because normally there's a line of patrons here, but really those holes, they're just one continuous fairway that connects them, you know?
It was cool to me too, with like how they do put patrons in there when it's a regular year. It's surprising how well kind of tucked away from typical action it is. Like, it's other than Cam Smith blasting one over there today on 15 way left where the grandstand usually is, like, I can't think of too many times I saw players in a position where there might have been a grandstand or anything like that. And luckily they didn't build any giant blue walls to keep balls in or anything like that. But I guess the point is too that it seems like they do a really good job of where they put their grandstands in typical tournaments, because they're never. No, but
they don't call them. I don't remember what the term was, but they're not called grandstands. They're like patron
spectator area or patron.
Oh my god!
Yeah. But anyway.
We digress. So the bad, in the same note, not having fans. First off, the roars, the lack of roars. I don't know if there's any moment that stands out on Sunday, but there were times throughout the week where I felt like you would have heard that moment. There's two moments I think that stand out. The one that they spoke about was Tiger walking up the 18th, and it felt to me like on the broadcast it was kind of like, okay, like, why are we watching Tiger walk up the 18th? And then it's like, oh right, because if there was fans, he'd be getting a standing ovation, and it'd be the loudest thing probably the second loudest thing besides when DJ's walking up there at the end of the day. So just how they add the poignancy to the moments, and the real emphasis on that is it felt a little lackluster when DJ finished it out, because it's just like, okay, like, yep, I won. Now what? So Paulina, you're gonna come, like, bring the car around? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, like one of you guys had already alluded to, though, DJ is the perfect champion for that environment. Like, he really epitomizes that anyways.
Yeah, Craig, I was looking at your notes here and I was trying to think about like what that moment would be where like the roars would kind of affect Sunday. Like maybe Rory's birdie on 8. So he's now 3 under. Like maybe DJ would have heard that a few holes back, but I don't know if there was a big roar moment that define Sunday, because he was kind of
there would have been
a roar on 6 when DJ birdied 6. That would have been a roar.
But I was just thinking more back nine. I mean, that's when you think of, because that's where the crux of the tournament happens.
The back nine today, it wasn't really suspenseful, and it wouldn't have really been suspenseful with fans either. It's DJ had established that he was not going to be fallen back by that point, and so he just meticulously plotted his way through the final I mean, once he got past 13,
Yeah.
it was pretty much it.
Yeah.
So my last one here is, and this is the ugly, softness of the course. I don't mean necessarily how easy it played. I mean more how many mud. Like, I don't know if I remember the last time seeing a mud ball at Augusta, but multiple times we saw it. And this is nothing against Augusta National. I think they did everything they could to get this course into the best shape possible. We had the tail ends of, I forget if it was a tropical storm or a hurricane, roll through on Thursday morning.
Did you see those pictures of the course when it during the storm?
Yeah, it was in soup.
It was unbelievable.
So I mean, it's just the ugliness of it. Like it kind of sucked that there's so much of the moments. Like for instance, the one that comes to mind for me, Dustin Johnson on both par fives on the back. On 13, he laid up and intentionally hit a skimmer because he knew there was mud on his ball and he wanted to try to clean it off so that it would be good for his third shot into the green, which that's pretty freaking cool that he's doing that and he's thinking through in that manner. But then also laying up on 15. Like, how often do you think of Dustin Johnson laying up on both par fives on the back?
Taking a Zach Johnson route to the green jacket.
And made birdies on both.
Hardly, but
but yeah, just really the softness of the course, maybe a little bit low key that I would have. And again, nothing against Augusta National, but I would have liked it if the course was a bit firmer. The greens were a bit firmer hitting into, just because that's what makes Augusta special in a lot of ways.
It is, yeah. You're right. Adam, why don't we move on to your 3 stars?
Yeah, my 3 stars, I mean, not super in-depth this week. 3rd star, Sungae Im, tied for 2nd. Super impressive performance. The one thing I don't think we've talked about yet that I want to bring up is, I don't know if you guys heard this on the broadcast, he's finally looking at settling down and buying a home in the U.S.
Really?
Yeah,
No,
outside of Atlanta. So he's gonna be near Augusta, gonna be near Georgia.
No, he's going to be near a airport hub so he can get to all the tournaments that he flies to.
I think Atlanta's the busiest airport in the U.S., right?
It's one of them for sure. I think Chicago O'Hare may be, if not, Atlanta's right up there.
But like, how long has he been living hotel to hotel? And I just love that he's finally purchasing a home.
Well, maybe with this check, he can afford it now.
Get that down payment in.
Yeah.
2nd star, Cam Smith, again tied for 2nd, but Cam Smith, he was just, I kind of talked about it at the top. He was the thrilling one for me today. Just his birdie, what was it, on 7 there, I think, and then his escape on 9. It was just really impressive. So he's my 2nd star.
Yeah, moment for me of the tournament. My wife, I mean, I'm constantly trying to pump up golf and everything about Augusta. She quite likes the Masters. This is the one that I feel like I can get her into. But one of the things that always comes up is how stodgy and old-fashioned so many things about Augusta are, and she's just like, I would have thought they'd be a little bit stricter about like grooming and dress code than how this guy looks. You see some of those long scraggly whiskers, and I get it.
I'm digging his look. He's rocking that penguin. I feel like he's only like.
I like the penguin. I know.
Penguin I feel like that's his signature thing.
Yeah.
1st start, DJ. I mean.
Yeah.
Huge.
How can it not be?
How could it not be? It's a career changing type wing because he can now play this. I mean, he can play it for as long as he wants. Like, the Masters win is just, it's so different, I feel like, than the other majors. I'm just so happy for him. I've been a fan of DJ ever since his Pebble Beach US Open collapse. So I don't know. I'm just so happy for him.
To me, I feel like the first, Oakmont, the US Open, his first major, it was like, okay, like the relief. But this one almost feels like more like, okay, like, we're part of the club.
Let's build this legacy.
Like, we're just, this is what we do. We win majors, and now we got this one, and we're gonna go out there and like, it's just more it's not about, oh, I don't have to worry about this anymore. It's like, just this is what I do. I win big golf tournaments.
It's also like, he this season I think he won twice. Well, 3 times. Craig doesn't really count the Tour Championship, but I believe he won the Travelers, and then he won a playoff event. The Tour Championship.
Northern Trust.
Yeah. And he just obliterated the field in that one. Like, he's been playing dominant golf.
Lost in the playoff.
But if you don't, win a major in that stretch, it's kind of like it's all, it's good. But
it just all kind of goes away at the end of the career.
So classic DJ.
Yeah, but then to get a major and the Masters, like, during this stretch, it's like, okay, this is a generational golfer who's performing at his peak right now, and it's just fun to watch. And you got to be happy for the guy. It obviously was so important to him. You see his reaction during the ceremony there, where he couldn't kind of get his composure. I loved it too.
I loved that.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I'm just so excited right now. I can't even talk. It's like, man, like, that's great. That's all you need to say.
It really did endear him to me more than he has in the past, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
There's also, you guys should check it out. The PGA Tour released kind of like good sound bites of his interviews over the past career. I mean, for his career, he's just like, I don't know. He's just got a dry humor that I think they hate as interviewers, but I just love.
Yeah.
Asking what his favorite part of the Masters is, he's like,
sandwiches.
The sandwiches are pretty good. Like, he's just so, he's just kind of an odd guy, but I love it.
So I'd like to move on to a couple of my thoughts on this week. First, I just want to shout out Augusta. Craig, I know you don't like you said you didn't like the soft conditions there, but Augusta National and the Masters is just far and away the greatest stage in golf. And to me, it's not even close. I was so amped leading into this week. Obviously, we've been looking forward to it for so long, but Thursday, Friday, Saturday, it didn't disappoint. It was awesome. Like, you have these heavyweights, going into the third round, you got DJ, JT, Rahm, 1, 2, 3 in the world. Rory's making a charge, DeChambeau is just absolutely snowballing. Looks like he's about to roid rage and snap every club in his bag. Like, it's awesome. And I was thinking about what about it makes it so awesome. I mean, the fact that we know every hole on that course because we've seen it year after year after year. The fact that there's so many holes on that course, like, the best players in the world can legitimately go out there and shoot 2 over or shoot 7 under on any given round. And on holes like, the par 5s are epic. You can, on hole 8, I think 8's probably the toughest of the 4. You can make a 3 and you can make a 7, and it seems like they're almost equally likely
8
sometimes.
To me, I feel like might be the toughest to score low, but like, I feel like both 13 and 15 are the most volatile. Like, but this is what I'm saying. The holes are volatile. You're more likely to eagle than 8, but you're also more likely to bogey or double, which is awesome for the back 9 finish.
It's awesome. And I was doing some live betting, which I think we're gonna get to in a second. But like you can a par 5 typically with these guys, and especially shorter par 5s, you're not going to get good odds on going under par, but you'll get good odds on going over par. And guess what? Like, it happens here. It happens all the time.
Okay, I got a question. I feel like we're just going to have a long Masters podcast, and I'm cool with that. But I got a question I want to ask now. So if you had a chance to play either one hole just because you wanted to see what it's like, or because you're not really sure why it plays that way, like, why does it play easier? Why does it play hard? What hole are you just so curious about you want to go out there and play?
Oof,
it's either 12 or 13.
That's a bit of a tough question.
See, I never understand, and maybe I'm just so ignorant, I don't know, but I don't understand how 11 is so hard and why every ball goes to the right there. Like, I just want to go and play 11 and see what happens.
Like, it's longer than it seems, because we'll see people hitting shorter irons in there.
Why every second shot goes to the right, Adam?
Yeah.
Do you see the pond?
There's a huge pond on the left.
I know, but then it's so hard to go up and down there. Like, it's one of those, I feel like TV doesn't do it justice. I feel like the slope of their second shot, it doesn't do it justice. And then the ability to go up and down, they talk about these ridges in the green, but from where their TV towers are set up, I feel like it doesn't do it justice. I'm like, yeah, just go up and down. It's a 30-foot pitch shot.
So I think the other thing, Sungae's in today also shows how, like, you can't be... The only miss there is to the right. So
It is, yeah.
So like you can't be long. So like they have to be short or pin high. And then they can't be left, and so you end up with a lot of bailouts to the short right there, because oftentimes, like, unless you hit a great tee shot, you're coming in there with a club that's tough to land on a dime.
And then Adam, when the flag's in the back, I could be wrong about this, but guys that go long and right, it's downhill to the water. So once you there's a bunker guarding back there. So, Koepka today, I was watching his, and he went long right, and then he tried to just get it over the bunker, and it just died right at the top of that hill. He never got the downslope, and he made a bogey. And
it's just a whole lot of curious. I would love to play, but I want to hear if you guys have thoughts on a specific
I think 13 is the coolest hole. I would be terrible on that hole. I can't hit a draw if my life depended on it. I couldn't hit off the side slope. It'd be bad.
So I was gonna say, I feel like
15 is my answer.
15. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, if I felt like I could get my golf game into, like, have a few months to get in as good a shape as I could, I'd potentially want 13. But like, if not, then 12, because I would just want to see, like, how small is that? I know that I can hit that shot. Like, I can hit a shot that far that can fly in the air and potentially stop on a green, But like, on 13, I don't know where the non-pro tees are, but I don't know if I could get anything to that corner.
Yeah,
I don't know if I could get anything from that, wherever I could get it to stop on that green, or if it's just going to be coming in at such a low angle that I have no shot,
I'd also, I think we would all love to play 16, because I feel like we all know that green well enough.
I want to play 16 with it in the right spot so that I can just get it.
Yeah. We'd all like to play all of the holes at Augusta, I think. But it's just, to me, it was just a reminder of how awesome, majors are great. The Masters is the best. Augusta is just the best. It's such a cool theater. And I can't wait for the patrons to get back, because that just adds kind of the cherry on top.
I heard a really good one. I think, is it Brandel Chambly on the Golf Channel?
Chambly.
Right. Which, I don't love everything he says, but I heard a really good one from him this week, that one of the things that makes it great is that there's context to every shot. So, like, other people that have been around that area, like, he hit it to the left there on 13, and he's got a downhill shot out of that bunker, and he still has a chance to make birdie, but that's not an easy shot. You could easily scoot it through into the there's context to everything there.
Well, exactly. That's kind of what I was getting at. We know the holes, we know the history on the holes. And
I guess the thing, I feel like I'm attacked a little bit, because it's not that I hate the Masters. It's more just, I think that they all have different flavors. Like, to me, I love the Masters, but I also love the Open Championship, because it's like...
Championship's second best.
When did we attack you?
Well, I forget what Kevin was saying about how I don't give Masters enough love or respect.
Yeah, well, I'm standing by it. Yeah, moving on.
No, sorry, real quick, just because this is our salute to Augusta. Also, like, far and away the most innovative from getting you a golf product on your screen in every way possible. Yes. They were, I think, the first to put color TV, golf on color TV. They've been so trendsetting. Now you can literally watch any shot, pull it up whenever you want. They're so far away in front of anyone else.
Yeah, I totally agree. So moving on, my next salute it's a salute to my brothers. It's a salute to brothers. It was awesome to see DJ win with his brother on the bag. Seeing his brother getting choked up on 18 there. It was awesome. It's cool when you can share something like that. I mean, obviously, if you have a player-caddy relationship, that's a tight relationship. But if it's a brother relationship, it's really cool. I could only imagine... we've all imagined being in that situation, obviously.
Man, I've always imagined caddying for one of my
but how cool would it be to have one of us on the bag, I know for me it'd be great to have one of you guys on the bag. So I just thought that was really cool.
Well, and
you just want us as a scapegoat.
Yeah, come on, Adam.
Give me the wrong number. I was saying one of the bad things about not having fans there was the lack of a moment. To me, his brother was the one thing that really gave it a moment, was like how
that's kind of true. Yeah.
The emotion that he felt there on the green. And like, Paulina, doing the classic wife girlfriend coming up to see the winner. But it was like the one that was emotional was his brother and him, like that.
Yeah. Man, Paulina lives for those moments. Come on. She shines. All right, so quickly, Adam,
so you think she knew her camera angles and where
probably, yeah. I like that she was wearing green. That was a nice touch.
I was talking to my wife. I'm like, is she trying to jinx him going out to the course on Sunday wearing a green zip-up jacket? Are you kidding me?
That was confidence. She was displaying confidence.
Wow.
So Adam and I quickly wanted to talk about some betting recaps. Craig's not so much on the betting.
I'm sure Craig has stuff to say for his week.
Man, I had a pretty good week.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I was just gonna say it's one of the best weekends in sports. One of the best, I think, betting events.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
Kick it off.
Yeah, I for the third straight year hit the winner. I hit Reed, Tiger, and now I hit DJ, so that was awesome.
But I think there's context needed because you didn't bet him on Wednesday, or like when did you put this in?
So I after we watched, what was it, the Northern Trust, I bet on Dustin for the U.S. Open and the Masters because I just thought he was playing so well. And I got him at 16-1, which was awesome.
I believe you got him at 16-1.
So I don't think the price or that was ever that high again after that.
No, I don't think so either. So, that was great. And then I also got him on the first round leader bet that I just put in prior to the week. That was 18-1, and it was I got a third of that. I got 6-1 because he was tied with two other guys. But so that was good. And then the live betting, like I say, I was all over that this whole week. And it was kind of up and down, at times I was feeling pretty good, decided to increase the stakes a little bit, and then I got down a little bit and it wasn't so good. And let me just tell you that Abe Answer putt on 17, he got up and down from the bunker for par, and that was a big one for me to get my balance back to where I was starting at. I was going with a double it philosophy, and it was as high as I'd like to see it. Let's just say that. So way to go, Abe. He definitely earned some cred in my books.
Just a little bit extra to those moments.
Yeah. Adam, how about you?
Yeah, so I mean, I kind of dispersed my betting through different things, but I got invited by friend of the pod, Rory. I think on Monday or Tuesday.
Not that Rory. Just
different friend of the pod.
I was gonna leave it open. Open for those to interpret.
Well, if we're going one word Rory, I feel like we need to clarify.
So he sent me, he's like, hey, there's this just this tournament, it's a pick'em kind of thing, $30 if you want to join. He sent it to a big group, so I was like, yeah, that looks interesting. Kind of looked at it. It's like, pick two favorites, pick an international from this, pick a former winner. Like, it's kind of one of those kind of pick from the box,
like a tier type thing, but just not by ranking. It was by different categories.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, yeah, this looks interesting. So I put in my email, transferred my $30. I'm like, yeah, I'll do this. I'll put it in. Picked 12 players in total. Everyone picked 12 players. I had Lee Westwood. So early on Thursday, I was like, yeah, I'm running away with this. Lee's the winner. But yeah, I was sweating till the very end. So I was the only person to get all 12 to the weekend. But if Sungae passed Cam Smith for solo second, I was kind of riding first the whole weekend because it was based on kind of the winner purse. If Sungae passed him, I would have been bumped to second, but Cam Smith did enough and got that second. Ended up taking a nice kind of $800 prize.
Nice
prize in.
So
I was kind of thinking,
I'm thinking back to Cam Smith. He had the one on 18 that he left in the jaws, right? The chip.
Yeah.
How bad were you wanting that to go down?
Yeah, absolutely. But then Sungjae's approach, I'm like, oh, phew, like he's off to the side. And then when he chipped it, I'm like, break. Don't reach the hole. But I was trying to put this in context because I mean, I like DFS. I play DraftKings quite a bit, so I was thinking of the movie Rounders, how Matt Damon and Worm go out to the local games and cash up, and then Matt Damon wants to head out to Vegas and just gets like emptied out. And I feel like that's where I'm at. I go to the local game, make my money, and then go to DraftKings and like, oh, there goes my money. So that was my comparison. The one thing I was going to say for bad betting was I made that made cut parlay that you pick kind of 15 players to make the cut, but without the 10-stroke rule. I mean, for getting guys into the weekend, I think it's kind of a sucker bet now. So that was a bad lose.
Well, was it though? Because I feel like both you guys were just Hatton was the only one.
Yeah, it was just Hatton for me. I had a 13-man parlay, made parlay, and it was just Hatton. I was sweating Rory there.
Oh no, Adam, you had Kisner as well.
Yeah, that's
Hatton and Kisner. But yeah, Hatton was a bit of a disappointment there. The big disappointment for me, I had even going into Sunday, it still was looking good. A DFS ticket on DraftKings.
Oh, that's right.
And you had a stacked one.
But so Abe Answer falling off. And then and Bubba blew, I don't even know how Bubba did it, but he blew up at one point. He ended up, I think, 5 over. Maybe he got back to 4 over on the day. But yeah, I mean, it was one of those weeks where between showdowns, which are just the single days, and the full tournaments, I broke even. But it's one of those ones that like it felt like, oh man, it should have been more than a break even week, and it just like it all just just misses. And that I think that's the classic
exact same boat.
That's the classic DFS keeps you coming back feeling.
Oh, of course, it's like the scratch ticket.
Yeah.
Okay, so for our picks, none of us hit DJ, which is a little surprising.
Well, I want to give some context to that because I was telling Adam that maybe I was telling you as well, Kev. That might have been on our Houston recap, but basically DJ was my pick. I just wanted to keep my cards close to the vest, and I still was potentially going to keep him as my one and done, and so.
You did mention this in the Houston one. I remember.
And the thing is, so if we would have picked our one and dones after, and I mean, I guess Adam, you might be in a Houston. Similar situation. You might have gone DJ too, but because we had to pick on Friday, I didn't want to pick him and then have him not have a good couple days on at the Houston Open. So yeah, it hurts. I mean, Xander didn't get her done. He wasn't even close. Both of you guys were top 5s.
Up there. Yeah, Xander was up there for a long time on Thursday, Friday.
Yeah, I think it was Saturday. I mean, he moved the wrong way at one point when he had to keep moving lower.
I think we all agreed. So we made our picks, I mean, before the week, like Thursday or Friday before the Houston Open, right? I think we agreed on the Houston Open recap podcast that DJ was the betting favorite.
Well, so and on Twitch on Tuesday, Adam and I were talking that like basically I would have it as DJ and Rahm, and then a bit of a gap, and then JT, Rory, and Bryson in that next tier. If I was designing the odds, and that's sort of how it felt. Maybe it should have been more like DJ, Rahm, and JT with how it played out, but to me, DJ and Rahm are just playing better than everyone else in the world.
Well, JT's right there. I mean, if you're going to say DJ and Rahm, you got to put JT in there.
Yeah, but if you look at Rahm, like if it wasn't for DJ, Rahm's last few months, he's been really, really good. And JT has as well, but JT's been a bit more inconsistent. Rahm, it seems like every week he's out there top 10ing.
Yeah. I think we're splitting hairs here a little bit.
Yeah, they're both right up there.
Let's keep it rolling here. We got sleeper, obviously the one of note is Craig. Cameron Smith ended up T2.
That's a nice one.
All
3 through the weekend though, so that's good.
All 3 through the weekend. Fades, good fade on Morikawa, Adam. Craig Brooks didn't win, so I think that's a win. And Bryson, I'm just so happy with that fade. Couldn't be happier. Top Canadian, Corey Connors, T10. Unfortunately, Hadwin just missed the cut there. Yeah. Like Weir made, which was nice. And
I was very impressed with Weir. I was really happy to see him make the cut, and he ended up stumbling to the finish, but at one point he was still like 2 or 3 under today.
Yeah. And then our one and dones, McIlroy went from almost missing the cut there for you to T5th for 437,000. Patrick Reed, Craig got a T10, 287,000, and then Tony Finau, mine was T38, 50,000. Really, kind of let me down a little bit there. Finau just never got it going.
Man, I felt like
completely
Reed
agree.
really let me down. I felt like I was cackling away over here with my my brilliant
Man,
one and done pick. You guys are using better players, and I'm doing better, and then he just didn't get her done.
Honestly,
So-
that's a good pick. I was worried that, I mean, at least Rory finished ahead of him, but even still, you could make the argument that Reed's a better pick because I burned my Rory.
Use that Rory, yeah.
Yeah.
So just a one and done update. Craig's at about 650,000, Adam's 865,000, and I am at 1.5 million. So you guys made up a little ground on me. I'm not going to sweat it. I still luckily have Rory.
Do you see what the purses
Rahm.
are?
So,
Do you see what the purses are? Like, as a single, I feel like you're really counting your early lead here.
I am. Well, I have it.
You're like Lee Westwood midway through Thursday here.
Hey, listen, you keep saying you know what the purses are. It's only one win. Well, we're all yet to pick a winner. So
True.
Until that happens. Okay, let's quickly burn through our stock up, stock down. Craig, why don't we start with you?
So stock up, we've spoken about him already. Brooks Koepka. I had him as
Looks
a
like he's
fade.
back.
I pumped the brakes on the fade after the Houston when he really started to play better. His last two there, it looks like he's back. I think physically has been the real hurdle, and everything looks to be back in form and sync. Ball striking's good. Stock is up on Brooks. Anything on Brooks? No. Okay.
I agree.
On.
He looks
Stock
great.
down. Justin Thomas, and it's really just the getting through 2 days, being tied for the lead for him at this point of his career. He needs. I want to see more. I want to see him, even if he doesn't win. I want to see him pushing whoever it is that wins. Just to kind of fade from contention as he did. It's just a stock down for me.
I mean, I guess I'll comment. I think that's, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but I think it is a little bit harsh. My one side I have to throw out, he is fifth relative to par in this year's majors of everyone.
Listen, and you know what? Justin Thomas is still going to be my pick at points, and it's not so much that I think his stock has fallen and I'm never going to pick JT again. It's more just I'm disappointed with how it came out.
Yeah, me too.
That's
It's a disappointing result. I thought he might challenge DJ, and so I'm disappointed with that. But yeah, he's still one of my favorites. Great player.
Yeah.
Adam, why don't we move on to you there?
Stock up. Mark Leishman. Out of nowhere. He has been playing, I mean, no two ways about it. He's been playing brutal since the restart. Like, he has completely fallen off. I did a little bit of digging. He's played in 12 events. He's missed the cut in 5, which doesn't sound bad, but there's 4 of them that are no cut events. And his finishes in those no cut events were 52nd, 70th, and then 28th out of 30 in the Tour Championship.
Well, and some of his missed cuts too have been like not even close.
I mean, at points, I through the summer, I was kind of like, is Mark Leishman just kind of like quickly like rolling up his career here? Like, he seemed completely off to the player that he was even at the start of the year. It made no sense at all. But he came in here, he had a good finish. He beat guys like, so he finished T13th. He beat guys like Xander, Cantlay, and Bryson. So completely out of nowhere. So stock is up. I mean, I'm not going to invest right away. I want to see a little bit more because he does have some good history here. But yeah, I mean, out of nowhere.
So I'm ready to invest. We do showdown videos every day on YouTube, and I was looking at him going into Sunday because I was like, man, no one's gonna have any faith in Leishman. So he's gonna you're gonna get an ownership leverage, and it just seems like maybe he's playing better. I was like, no, I cannot in good faith advise that Mark Leishman is a good showdown. And even in my own tickets, I was like, I don't want to waste this one on Leishman. Like, the chances of him blowing up are just too good.
So, and you know what? Leishman has a history though of, like, if you look at some of his wins, it's like miscut, poor finish, win. He just comes out of nowhere. He's done it a couple times.
Basically, I'll invest from this point on. Like, I'm not gonna necessarily go out and plug him into every lineup, but I'm not gonna have the same hesitancy, I guess I would say.
So Craig, it's funny you say that because I was actually thinking about him Saturday night as I write him up. I'm like, I still can't get there. He's too risky. But I played him. And he scored 52 points. He's at 3% owned. Is great.
Him and CT Pan, I think, were probably MVPs of showdowns today.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, Adam, who do you have moving down?
Hoodie man himself, Tyrrell Hatton. And this is very specific to 2020 majors. I'll just quickly recap. PGA Championship, missed the cut by 2. US Open, missed the cut by 6. Masters, missed the cut by 3. We've been kind of pumping his tires. He cracked the top 10 after his win in Europe in the official World Golf ranking.
He had a lot of high finishes.
Yeah, he looked like he was in his games in pretty good form too. So
with my make cut parlay that I put out there, I pretty much was going with guys I thought were sure things. I picked 13 guys that I was like, okay, these guys are gonna make the cut, and I thought Hatton was just a sure thing the way he's been playing, that his floor was high enough he would just make the cut, and he was in a solid. He was, I think, -2 after the first round, and then had a terrible second round. Fell way back. Wasn't even close to the cut. Yeah, he would be a stock down for me as well, Adam.
I don't know what the deal is with his majors. I'm sure he's as pissed off as anyone. Yeah, I also feel like
his game actually, I would think his game is well suited to Augusta. He's a good approach player. He typically can hit yardages pretty well. So we'll have to see in April whether this is something that is a bit of a major trend, or if it's just been a bit of a more of an aberration.
Yeah, it's going to be, April, is he a contrarian pick? Like, how far does he slip down the outright market? It's interesting. But yeah, it's stock down for now.
So for me, we've already talked about both these guys, but my stock up is Sungae. Again, I was just super impressed at his composure, specifically his short game today. Just, so classy, some of those chips. They were fantastic. And to just, he didn't make a lot of big mistakes. He Augusta on Sunday, and he held tough. So I was impressed. My stock down.
Sorry, just real quick on Sungae. I think my favorite moment for him, 12. He was front bunker, and then he made a putt, and it was the first time he gave you like a little fist bump, and it was the first time you really saw like, he's not totally emotionless. He knows how big this moment and these holes are, and that's a big up and down there.
Yeah, for sure. My stock down is Jon Rahm, and that it goes back to what I was talking about before, where I thought he had the opportunity to kind of set the pace and pull in front of those guys, and he didn't do it. And then he really didn't do it when he doubled 8 in the third round and just kind of fell away. And I think for the weekend, where did he finish? He finished at -1
for the weekend, so 72-71,
which is just, you get yourself to -9. It's not like the course got that much harder. It got a little slicker, but not that much harder. And a world-class player like Rahm, I would have expected more. So it's just a disappointment. Much like Craig had Justin Thomas, it's just a disappointment for me with Rahm this week.
Yeah, totally agree. Disappointing. And I think the thing about Rahm, I think he has very, very, like, his game is very good in majors. I think some of these top players you don't necessarily like as much in majors because they're like maybe a Webb Simpson, for instance, who, he had a pretty good week, but I don't think of him as really going to go out there and have an easy time beating all the best players. Yes, he's won a major, and yes, we know it can happen, but I just think Rahm can beat stacked fields.
Yeah,
I've kind of said my piece, but I'll say one more thing. I guess when I look at it, when you look at the Masters or a major tournament, everyone wants to go in and win, but there's actually probably just a handful of people that will be disappointed if they don't win. That's how much expectation. And so I kind of agree with you with JT and with Rahm that, they are disappointed if they don't win. They're not happy with the top 10, not happy with the top 5. So I guess I'm kind of coming around with that, but
and particularly given their position after 2 rounds too.
Yes,
I think
100%. Yeah.
Okay, well, guys, I think that pretty much wraps us up for the Masters. We got an upcoming. Yeah, I know.
144 days to the next one.
Yeah, I got some more questions, but we're running real long here. So, upcoming tournament next week, we've got the RSM Classic. Adam, you've made the note here that 33 players from the Masters field are at the RSM Classic, so it's a decent field there.
Yeah, I'm sure some will drop out this Monday, but
yeah,
as of right now.
So yeah, we're right back on the horse. Gonna get some previews out this week. Hey guys.
Yeah, got something to look forward to again. None of these like 98 of the best players. I want to get some of these scrubs in here and figure out who's gonna play well.
Any schedules for this week you wanted to mention?
I mean, we'll be doing the usual thing. We'll have DFS previews on YouTube, and I'm assuming we'll be doing a Twitch show live on likely Wednesday. So look out for those. Follow on Twitter to catch everything that comes out.
Yep, absolutely.
Right on. Well, thank you very much for listening. Please subscribe, rate, and review our podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Check out all our videos on YouTube at Grandstand Golf, and check out our webpage, grandstandgolf.com, for all the content. I hope you enjoyed the Masters as much as we did, and we look forward to talking to you next week. Take care, everyone.
See you guys.
See you next time, guys.